out on the water though. I don't have the footage edited. I don't even have it going to the computer because the computer's giving me fits. So when I get to that, you will see the footage of today. But I wanted to talk. We got a Tackle Warehouse unboxing. But before we get to that unboxing, I'll talk briefly about what we did today and what you'll see coming up. So anyway, I had to get my truck worked on while I was there. It's a farm pond basically, so I was able to fish. And that chatterbait right there, it's not really a mystery. You guys that watch the channel, you know what I'm talking about. But we managed to catch him on our, and I'm leaving it on here because I'm supposed to go. I think I'm still going fishing with Charles in the morning, and this will be probably one of the first things I start throwing. But I'll talk to you about the power of that little, putting the zinkers on the back, and that's the Dirty Jigs Bluegill 2 skirt on the Niobe 3/8 ounce, what was a Fire Tiger chatterbait. But that little dude right there kicked in and was working pretty good. So I caught, and just wait till you see the footage. You'll be laughing at me calling me a nut, but I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag. You're going to see me act like I've got a giant on. And the reasoning is because that dude, I hooked the biggest bass I caught today. Like he hit the bait or hit at the bait, but I hooked him in the top of the head, not the top of the roof of the mouth, in the head. And so he was bowling around. I don't know, maybe only like a 2 pound bass. But if you guys know what I'm talking about, when you hook them and they still have their mouth shut and they're foul hooked in some way and they've got full ability to swim, man, I thought I had a giant on this rod. It's definitely the biggest thing I've caught on this combo so far. So I was like, whoa. And those of you that don't follow the channel, this is the complete elite combo: 6'10", medium heavy, lose elite TI. And I was kind of going to show you how the reel very, looks very good, but it does get just kind of gnarly looking. Now you can wipe it right off and clean it up, but just out there fishing. But I'm gonna leave this rigged up because I'm going fishing, like I said, with Charles. So I can't really go into detail, and I don't have time to clean it. Right? We rode it hard and we put it up wet, and that zinker shouldn't do anything just by leaving it and fishing tomorrow. But as soon as I get home tomorrow, I'll definitely need to take that, wipe all my stuff down, take that off. But literally in about 12 hours, I'll be getting up to go fishing. So, or something like that. So I should be good. So let's get to the unboxing, and I'll talk about the other stuff that did work and we managed to catch. We managed to catch, I don't even know now that come to think of it, probably 10 bass maybe. And some were dinks. They were bigger than the ones if you watched the last video. If you haven't, go back and watched it, our first little outing. Those were all dinks. Like it's land of the dinks at that place. So the place we were at today, there's some big fish in there, but the biggest I've ever caught is kind of like the one I caught today, 2.5 pounders. There are rumors going around that they've caught, bigger fish out of there. Me, myself, I haven't. Mike says there's an 8 pounder being caught out of there, but I didn't do it. So here we go. We've got they already made it in. So yes, this is excelente. So our new, and I got the notification that I could have came and got these and used them even today if I really wanted to. So the new Minimax Evo Elite Evo, 1/4 ounce. If you guys remember right, we talked about that. I think these I'm going to utilize in 1/4 ounce over the 3/8 or 1/2 ounce is how they come. So let's just get stuff out, and then we may take some stuff out and look at it. So, but that isn't the only thing I got. Not Evo Elites. I also got some other stuff because if you remember, I've only got a handful of and we're going to look at the rest of the Evos here in a second. But I'm going to get all of this other stuff because I threw those 4, you guys know the deal, Tackle Warehouse, you order $50 worth of stuff and it's free shipping. So I'd already had some stuff on there. And then once I saw that these were available, I threw them on top of the order. So let's go through that order first, basically. So from Dirty Jigs, I ordered several different jigs. So compact, right? That is the Luke Clausen Compact Pitch and Jig. Super matte brown. Very good color. I don't got any more of those. And I think that may have been the only one in that exact one. Now, why in the world? Oh, I got different sizes. So then I picked up 2 of these. And mainly just because 7/16 Matt's mix up. And then, this is a TL pitch and jig Matt's mix up 3/8. So there is a difference. I think, yeah, that's a little bit different style, but same color. So I got 2 of those. And then you guys know that I can't fish without a couple colors. Black and blue being one of them. So we got the tour level pitching jig. These are the ones I've already bought and tried from, and I do like those look good. But then nowadays, right, bluegill. So I think I got 2 different. Yeah, there's a bluegill and a bluegill 2. So if you look, the new bluegill 2 I like. Whoa, get over here. The bluegill, honestly, I think is exactly pretty much what Z-Man and Boss Baits use. And several other companies, I think, have a standard type bluegill. So we'll get a couple of those out. Hang on a second. We're just pulling everything out. And also, well, I mean, I got this. I'm going to fish it, but I also wanted to see if they use the exact skirt as like they sell on their jigs too. Bluegill 2, and we can compare that to that. Well, the chatterbait that I just had in my hand a minute ago. Also, so let me make sure what's left in the box. All right. So, without further ado, let's finish off our. We got 3 more colors, and you guys, if you know, you know. I've already mentioned what I got. So when I just picked up the Evos the other day, they were on sale. I did get this color. That's the Bama Bream. I think, did I fish it today? I don't even can't remember if I fished that color today. Maybe briefly. I did fish one or the other. Did I fish the bluegill color? Because I bought this and a bluegill color. So in the Mini Max, I figured I'll get this color. And then I got that color right there, Glitter Bomb, which is basically, yeah, it's kind of a cross between the spot remover, just added that chartreuse and black, a little more black maybe. So since I already have several spot removers in the 3/8 ounce, I figured I would just change it up slightly. I'm kind of wondering if I shouldn't, just by looking at this, I don't know. What I will probably do, and then we'll go into more detail on the other baits too, but I think I will probably, I'm leave the chartreuse. I think I'll peel some of them black and, I think I'll peel a few of those off, and because I just want a little bit of that, the white and the chartreuse on that one, in my opinion. So basically, if the spot remover, I feel like I just, a little more brightness may help that in place of that. So then you have to go with the hot snakes, right? I figured I might as well. I think that's what that is. Yeah, hot snakes. That's what it looked like anyway. So we'll get a little more into these. But then you guys know the deal. I always have to get a bluegill colored one. So the bluegill, all 4 1/4 ounce, just bought them to try. Honestly, I don't know that they're. I do know that these aren't going to be any more productive than a Mini Max. They're going to be. There's a couple different options, maybe in color, the blade colors, like I mentioned on those other Evos, changed up a bit. So just to try them, I figured, what the heck. Might as well get them. It's a new release. This is the first time I've ever ordered a chatterbait right when it came out. Because if you remember right, I wasn't even at the moment when the first Z-Man original chatterbait came out. I got back into fishing. Probably it had been out for almost a year. And then most of these other chatterbaits, well, these are jigs, but I just don't jump on them as soon as they come out. I just like, okay, they're pretty much what we already have and kind of deal. But I thought, well, the Mini Max, because I think it was out for almost a year before I went ahead and like I'll get a couple. And although they work, same thing as the big blade, I bought them at the same time. I'm like, I'll just try them out. Do I think you need any of these over a Z-Man original or the knockoffs or, you know, the customs and none of that? No, I think they're all going to do about the same thing. And definitely, since this new dude come out, there's 100% no doubt in my mind. Let me get him out here real quick. You know, since these knockoffs popped out, oh, I was going to talk about one other thing that happened today. Since these knockoffs coming from AliExpress came out, they've worked just as good as the jackhammers, the customs, the pros, all that other stuff. So I'm going to tell a quick story, and then we're going to compare the Bluegill 2 skirts you buy to the Bluegill 2 that you actually buy in anytime you buy a Dirty Jigs bait that says it's Bluegill 2. And it does look like, yeah, that's the exact same skirt. So that's good to know. Sometimes they change. Like Z-Man, you'll buy a Bluegill bait, and you buy Bluegill, those Z-Man, and it may not be the same. Like they're just, Z-Man's got several different Bluegill, but it looks like Dirty Jigs, whatever color they're calling their stuff. Like if you buy the Super Matte Brown or the Matte Mix Up or whatever, if you buy the bait or the jig, the jig skirt separately, you're going to get that same thing. So anyway, they all look very good, and that looks just kind of like what the combo between the Z-Man or the Boss. So I believe that it really doesn't matter. You guys have heard me talk about it. The ones that have the blade mounted directly on, and I want to show you, this thing is already, see where that thing's already hitting? So it's already getting in there and doing its little chattering. So we caught the most fish on this. I threw it the most, but I caught the most fish on it today. And after the first fish, I almost lost it. So I know some of you are like, Charlie, you just talk too much about stuff that doesn't matter. But here's why it matters. Because I'm going to talk about the durabilities. Any of those of you that are hesitating about picking up some of these knockoffs from AliExpress. This bait got hung up on some wood, and I couldn't get it off. And there was another thing that happened. Now, I was originally fishing it on my my favorite combo. I was fishing it on the blade with the new Steez Limited. Then I switched to this to check out this combo to see what I thought. So I had it tied on to that new 15-pound line that I'd sort of been dogging. But I'll be honest, that 15-pound line saved this bait. That stuff is every bit. I think it's definitely underrated. They call it 15. I think it is probably easily 20-pound test. I think it's as strong as a 20-pound, and I think it's a little bit thicker than a P-line original. So anyway, to where it matters on this bait is, I was hung up and I couldn't break the line. You know, I was pulling and I was putting my thumb on the spool, and the drag was going, and I'm pulling back. I'm like, it just won't break. So I pulled so hard, and I don't know if you can even make it out now because I kind of bent it back. I started to bend the blade. So this started to pull and started to bend the blade. I ended up bending the hook out just slightly, and it's still sharp. I didn't resharpen it or nothing. I did have to bend it back down with pliers. But finally, I was hooked to somebody had thrown a whole tree limb, like not just one little branch, but like a whole top. It looked like top of a tree, or a bunch of branches was out in there buried in the gunk. I pulled so hard and nothing would break that it finally rolled that whole thing towards me enough that this popped off and I got it back. And I just knew that I'm like, oh, it's going to be dull. And then, just looking at it, it didn't do anything. So it didn't pull that out at all. Didn't even budge that. And when you can pull that hard and you're kinking your blade, and this is a stout hook. When you do all of that, it just kind of shows you that these are definitely kind of put it to a little, through a little torture test, because I've talked about it, and those of you that maybe have bought some of the knockoffs can also testify. Hang on, Brew Tank. No, what I'm saying is that these things are crazy strong too, just like all the other, other ones. These aren't. They seem to be legit. So I'm definitely already chattering on the heads and all that. So the paint may not last as well, but for those of you that are, you're listening to this and you don't, this is the first video you've ever seen. You can pick these up on AliExpress for as cheap as $2.50, sometimes $2, but usually $2.50, $3, $3.50 if there's absolutely no sales going on anywhere at any of the stores on AliExpress. Yes, they are a knockoff of a Chatterbait. Maybe it's the Jackhammer, one of the Evos, whatever it's a knockoff of. But these things are definitely not just real cheaply made. They've, put, and oh, this one, they even got it down further where it almost looks like it could be a Jackhammer knockoff completely. They have pretty good detail on the heads. They've got a good, the Niobe ones. If you see the Niobe ones, they are pretty much an exact copy of the Jackhammers. And the thing I was worried about on any of these before I had what happened today is like, could that be bent back out? Because some of these you'll buy, and that is literally not pushed in as far as it needs. It's not basically squeezed in as far as it needs to be. So back when I first started buying the Jackie Hammer knockoff ones, one of them I had before I realized what was going on. One of them I did have. I came back with just a blade, and I can't remember what was going on when that happened, but I came back with just a blade. Then I started looking at them, and it's not that it was pulled out or nothing like that. It's just it was never squeezed in the right way, because you will come across one every once in a while, and these aren't the elites aren't made the same way. So that, but the jackhammers, and there's a few other baits made like that. It's bent down, and you just have to make sure it's squeezed in all the way. So hang on, Brew Tank finally caught a live stream. So you're saying you're gonna have two combos set up for just chatterbaits, a mini on one and a jack on the other. Nope. I'm gonna have most of my combos. I can throw chatterbaits. Now my main chatterbait one is probably still going to be. It's just nice to know that so far this thing I'm feeling like I like it for chatterbaits and spinnerbaits. Will that hold through? Because although I hooked it in the top of the head, I still got it. So I think I caught 3 or 4 on this rod with this chatterbait, and I caught another 1 or so on the. How many did I catch on the blade? But anyway, I felt like it. I didn't when I felt the thump, and I. How you set the hook, you don't really just yank hard. Now, I was probably doing it a little off, a little rusty. Sometimes a knee-jerk reaction, you yank a little faster, a little harder than you need to. But it brought them in anyway. So far, it's looking good for chatterbaits. So let's tear into, actually, let me get this out of the way. And then, oh boy, hang on. Let me get this put up and out of the way, because I'm telling you, I'm leaving it, all the luck in it just like it is. So when I get out fishing, I'm gonna throw this chatterbait on it until I feel like I'm not doing any good throwing that chatterbait on it. Either because they're not hitting it, or if I were to say start getting hit to where I felt I should get a hook up and I'm missing them, then I'm going back to the blade. But I'll leave it on there for now, because I got other ones that can throw spinnerbaits and all that. So we did catch some on a spinnerbait, and I did lose one bait. We got one fallen soldier we lost today. We lost Z-Man. I want to say it was 3/8 ounce bluegill. Of course, it was bluegill bait, but we did manage to catch 1 or 2 bass on it before I lost it. It's the same thing. Caught it in wood. Took forever. It was yanking and tugging with 20-pound line. Finally broke it, and it broke. The braid broke, not the knot, not like the braid to lead or not, so it broke probably right at it. Either the braid basically, I pulled so hard I finally maybe made it dig into itself, or it broke right above it. I don't know if the footage will make it, but basically there, I just picked up a big, I don't know, chunk of wood, and I had to wrap the braid around the wood and pull, and it finally, broke. So I mean, when you do that, when you wrap braid around a big piece of wood and you just pull and it's stuck on another piece of wood, something's gonna give. So I was hoping that it would just straighten out my, hook a little bit, just like what happened with the chatterbait, but no, it broke. It tells me that P-Line Original, what it tells me is the P-Line Original is probably slightly underrated, so to speak. So say it says it's 20 pound, it probably breaks it a little over 20. And then a Probero's braid is probably closer to a true, when you buy 20-pound test, that's what it's going to break out. Which, if you're out fishing for bass, 20 pounds of any, like, and it's probably slightly over 20, just like the P-Line is probably an extra pound or so over. That's why the braid broke before the actual P-Line Original broke. So anyway, fallen soldier there. Let's get a couple of these baits. Let's go ahead and take them out since I don't really have much going on. My computer's not working. I don't know what to do with it. Oh my goodness. They got like Stay Fresh packaging. That's better than Ziploc. We're going to get these out. I may actually try to get this one out and use it tomorrow. So yeah, it's the same. It's the same skirt as the Bluegill 2 that you can buy. I think it's a 5-pack for $5 or something like that. Basically, it ends up being like $1 a skirt. So if you can come across, any of your old jigs you would have, and you want to change up the color, you can add $1 to it instead of just like feeling like you got to go buy another. And this one's already kind of got a little. So let's just get them. Let's get all those out first. Let's get our jigs out, and then we'll get our other stuff. There's always somebody. There's so much. It's like Grand Central Station around here. These dirty jigs. Yeah, I try to bring myself back into that's. Hang on, I'll read the comment there. But so there's our black and blue. That is a good color there too. Now I keep hearing. I thought the dirty jigs were going to go away from that solid. They were going to go to a solid head instead of having the bellies painted. But I like them like this myself. Different colors, like that there. Could have even more orange on there. Wouldn't hurt my feelings none. Hello, we're in the middle of the live stream. Would you like to say hello? No, sort of. Rug burns. There's a long story with rug burn. We got the AC fixed, but now it's got fuel leak. Oh yeah, call and get full coverage on it. The best I can hope is that the fuel line catches fire because of the exhaust, and we get a new truck. So it's kind of fixed, kind of not. Remember how I told you it smelled like gas or whatever? So anyway, back to this video. Did you bring me home dinner?
I don't even feel good, so don't be fucking around.
Okay, hang on. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to go get dinner. Gonna make me go eat Chipotle again. That's fine. That's fine. All right. I think I already got this color in something. Let me get rid of some of this junk. Now, one thing I have noticed, and this one really showcases it, some of that dirty jigs, which is actually a good thing for, I think, for catching fish, some of that silicone is very, very thin. I don't know if you guys can make that out. Like, it's a very thin, which it should make it more, But one thing I've noticed on the dirty jig stuff, when I've tried to, the skirts, when I've tried to, like, they're not as, I guess, resilient and able to just pull and stretch because they'll break before, but it's because they just feel like they're made a little thinner, which actually I like that just for the action of it. Like I feel what it's going to do underwater and all that kind of stuff. Not every one of them, but a lot of them you can kind of just tell they're a little thinner. I was kind of curious to compare these bluegill colors. So what's Brew Tank saying as we're opening this up? Hello, Big Mike Fishing, Brew Tank Outdoors. Brew Tank says, I think the chatterbait killed the spinnerbait for me. And I'll be honest, I'm 100% with you. I keep trying to rejuvenate the spinnerbaits, and I have found the one I lost today. That was my good lucky spinnerbait. But the Z-Man spinnerbaits, if you guys haven't tried the Z-Man Brew Tank, and I'll have to get the exact ones, but they're the more finessey ones. I can just feel them. Not as much as you can a chatterbait, but they're a spinnerbait that I can feel the blades going through. I mean, through the rod too, and so I feel like I can fish them slower, like I like to fish my chatterbaits. And so the SV3 knockoffs that are on AliExpress, and then the Z-Man, that certain one, their spinnerbaits, I like those, and those are the main two. The ones I just got from AliExpress, I'm not a fan of those so far. I'll probably end up weeding all those back out of my lineup. And that's probably what I'm going to do after this weekend. Yeah, see this one? And see, I don't know why they do that. They put them on, and I feel like, why didn't you just take the time and put it on, I guess, right? And I'm not saying it's wrong, because sometimes I think just the opposite way is that, you let it hit the bottom and does it look like a dying bluegill that's like laying on its side? Because it's a jig. Like, you put a rage craw on the back, right? It's got craw deals, but like, who knows what the fish is thinking it is when they come up, and if it's setting like this, it's straight as it hits, but does it look like a bluegill laying over, like dying or something? So would that work? I don't know. I typically try to keep all my what I feel is the belly color on the bottom like that. But I'm not saying that any which way you put this on would probably work. And there's times if you were in the murkier the water, maybe just flipping that thing all the way, or spinning it around and having the brightest colors up, so as it hits the bottom, it's stays bright. Because one thing about this, when you're moving it, and if you're just dragging across bottom, they're only getting the hints of it, basically through the other colors of the skirt. So really, okay, so they use just a little bit brighter. See that? When they went to the bluegill 2, they took out a lot of that bright color there. Same color orange almost. They toned it down a little bit. There's like an orange metal, flake in there. Let me see. No, they left the orange color. They definitely muted the yellow color, and then they added a bunch of blue. Is what the only really difference I see. If you want the blue, like, both look good. This actually looks very good too, just a bluegill. This looks better to me than the Z-Man or the Boss. It's basically this. Take out that. So, I mean, this actually looks good, because what I like about this one, you can just intensify it as you need to, like kind of what I did with the bait today. But this one, you could also de-intensify it just by plucking a few of these out and then cutting these a little shorter if you felt the need to do that. But both, I like the colors. Those both, either one of those, they're going to get hit. So let's just take these out real quick, even though they're the same color. And I'm guessing these are the solid heads. So every once in a while I get a few little bit heavier ones. Just, you never know when I'm going to want to get in that little bit deeper water. But typically 3/8 everything, or ½ ounce. 3/8 and then half, and then I don't really go 3. The only thing I've typically fished 3/4, like I guess consistently, would be my, the 3/4 ounce rattle traps. let's get the other one out, and then we'll get to the chatterbaits, the mini max. Oh yeah, did you guys see that now? And you guys probably heard about this. I don't pay attention to all that stuff, that what's coming kind of stuff. I just wait for it to pop up, and it's either there or not. I don't go searching out for what's new. I just like, oh, that's new. Oh, it's gonna come out. Yeah, I'll get it. I don't like hound search that kind of stuff out. Right? Kind of wait for it to come to me kind of thing. I should probably save those little Ziploc things. So let's look at these two compared. Even though they're different weights, I guess the head is slightly different. And this one has, so this is a heavier one. Like, look at that little dude. That dude isn't a heavy head, but it's got a lot heavier hook. See that? What's like right here along with all these others right here. We have pretty much gaffs. And then this one is a little more, just a little more finessey of a hook. But this one is definitely a more finesse style hook. Or as far as you, definitely a little bit lighter line for that one. So you don't need the bigger line. This one you're gonna have to get up there when you get to these, which is about like most of your typical, jigs. I'm sure my medium heavies to heavies with the, even 15, 20 pound line, you're going to set the hook. This one you could probably get by. Probably not on any of my 10 pounds, but so yeah. All right, look at all those jigs that we didn't need, but we got them. We got some dirty jigs. Let's open up the chatterbaits. Let's start with my least favorite to my next favorite to my favorite. Divine, you asked me a question. I couldn't tell you. There's several jigs that look good to me. If you want to know the jig I've had the best luck with, and I could not tell you why, because I don't use fluoro, but the year before last, I started buying a few of this too many. Oh my God. You guys are wasting staples. There's one in here too. Give me a minute. This thing got me on a mission now. Hurry to get this thing out. So, yeah, I tried to jig a little bit today, but it's just too gunky. You'd have to wait and see the fish deal. But so, Big Mike asked me, in my opinion, which jig is better, the dirty jigs or the Divine hybrid jig. Honestly, I've not fished either, nowhere near. I just barely started fishing dirty jigs. I've never fished the Divine hybrid. I know the one you're talking about because I've looked at them, and I've got the knockoffs to the Divine swim jigs. But well, as you can see, I just kind of went with some of the dirty jigs because I preferred these colors that the super matte brown, the matte mix up, the other one, their bluegill color. I just like their colors. I can't necessarily tell you their jigs are better than the others. But the one that for whatever reason I just something about I don't know if it's the jig or what, but I started using the Greg Hackney flipping fluoro jigs. I really like those. I don't even know why. They just work. I don't really necessarily like the heads or not, but Matt was using them, and I was watching, if you guys remember Matt, and then Hannah was fishing with the one, and I'm like, what is that? And I can't explain those hooks. They look like monster gaff size hooks too, but I would swear she was back fishing, kind of just almost swimming those fluorescent fluoro flipping jigs, and she had on black and blue one with the blue Baby Rage Menace on it, and kind of using like a swim jig, and she was just tearing them up. So I bought some. I'm like, I'll go just track them down. It looks like you don't need a crazy hook set or none of that. So I got a few of those, and I've had no issues with them. Like when I use them, they're good. But then I'm like, I need to branch out and have some other. And I'm more of a fan. The minute they have that archy style, I don't know. in my opinion. The fluorescent fluoro flipping ones are more of just a round, almost like a bullet head. But they I mean, you can use them for whatever. They're just awesome. They work. But these do too. And then that Buckeye mop jig, like I caught what 2 or 3 on it the other day when we had it out fishing. So anyway, let's jump to yeah, Eddie says jigs can definitely be the juice sometimes. Brew tank, you never catch them on a jerkbait, and I almost thought today I'm like I need to try jerkbait, but then they got done with my truck, and I was gonna fish for a little longer, and I was gonna try a jerkbait. I didn't even try a jerkbait today. I guarantee you I could have caught some. I can tell you right now, Brew Tank, if you're not catching them on a jerkbait, you're doing it wrong because a jerkbait is literally one of the easiest ways to catch them. It's not a way I like to catch them, just for the fact I don't want to get on an all day long jerkbait bite because it, you know, you're so when they're hitting it and you got to work it and then kill it for like 5 seconds. Oh, that just starts getting on my nerves. And then when they're hitting a jerkbait, but you're even faster, and you're at the end of the day, man, it's like, wow, there's got to be an easier way to catch these. Kind of like deep cranking, in my opinion. I like to find them on a rattle trap, chatterbait, spinnerbait, even a jig, soft plastic bite on bottom where you cast it out and then you just kind of start working it back across the bottom, football head type deal, stuff like that. I don't like Carolina rigs either. But if you're not catching them on a jerkbait, you're doing a couple things wrong. Now, what's funny is, though, then you can do it. You can try 2 different ways. You can do what everybody tells you how to fish a jerkbait, and then you can just throw it out and then do pulls. I know it sounds totally wrong, but Charles was tearing me up this way. He had this little jerkbait, especially if you don't have Vision 110s, if you don't have ones that they say are perfect, for that jerking it and then give it the slack. You can just kind of, actually, you don't just, throw them out, reel them back like you would any sort of crankbait, but you kind of, and they're not really like a rip bait, but you kind of either reel and then pause, or you kind of pull, and then you don't necessarily worry about giving it all the way the slack back. You just kind of work that bait in a pace, and I've seen that bite outdo me and my jerkbait by how I traditionally do it. But the way you're supposed to do a jerkbait, and I got one right here, and you don't have to worry about me getting hooked because there's no hooks on it. I broke the bill off. But you're going to want that thing to literally jump about as far, do whatever, and then just kill it. You want it to be like it, and it just imitates a fish dying, right? It just imitates, like, I don't know if you've ever watched a fish, it'll kind of flurry and it does this thing, and it's like it's dying. And so actually, I don't think there's an issue if you get one that does start to sink, because I've seen dying fish do several different ways. They usually never start floating up when they're acting erratic. They usually try to like go, and then they usually just start like sinking down. But typically you want it to suspend as well as it can. Like, so when you work that, and you don't know what it's going to do, you can't make it suspend. It's either a suspending jerkbait, it's going to have a very slow rise, or it's going to slowly sink. So you kind of want to know what the jerkbait does before you even use it. So I'm not sure what jerkbait you're using, but how I fish a jerkbait is just literally watching all these people and how they tell you to fish a jerkbait. You want to give it 1 or 2 jerks, but when you jerk, you want a pretty good snap. And the trick is you got to put the rod back. Don't hold it. You want to give the line. I call it like, and I think I probably didn't come up with this term, but like give the line back to the bait. So you pop once or twice, and then as you're popping it, you also, this is key, you want to pop slack line. You don't want to pull till you feel like the line tensing up and then pull. You want to pop that slack line, and then you want it to be slack. So the only time you're going to feel and know what's going on with that bait is like sometimes when you're popping it, you'll feel like you maybe started to hang something. So either then you got a fish, or you'll just it'll start pulling you before. Like you go to pop the slack line and the slack line takes off. But if you're popping it and you're reeling, you reel as you're watching the line slack. Like if you when you give it back, if it looks like, oh, that's, you got so much line that if your next pop, you won't be able to really pop it or barely, then you want to kind of start to reel a little bit to that deal. But the whole time that bait's working, it's the line's slack, if that makes sense. And I can't remember even who is probably the best video that's out there to watch on how to work the bait, but the trick is how intense are they after him? Because like right now, I would guess that you're going to want to go a couple seconds. So you're going to want to go one, give it like a count 1, 2, 3, and then go two, like fast. Pop the slack line, and then give the line back. Maybe 1, 2, 3. Do 1 or 2 again. Do maybe 3, and then count. But then if you fish a couple casts doing that and you're still not getting hit, and you think, man, there's got to be fish right in this area, you can always slow down. Usually speeding up never is the key, because usually if they'll hit it, if you wait a second or 2 seconds, they're going to hit it if you're waiting 3 and 4 seconds when they finally get around it. So just slow down. And I would say I'm definitely very impatient. If I have to sit there, and pop it once or twice, and then pop it, and then set and count in between pops for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, anything over that, I'm gonna try to look for some other way to catch them, unless they do start hitting that, and I'm like, oh god, I caught one. So then if I catch another one, and I counted to 4 or 5, I'm like, okay, I'm stuck on this for a while now anyway. But then, if you don't get another bite, you can even go longer if you want, because that thing's down there right after it pops and it stops. If it's a pretty good bait, that's a good suspending bait, it's really it's just sitting there enticing him. If there's one within range and he's like, oh, I know you're going to move again. And then so how hard you jerk it usually depends on what baits. Now, if you want a bait, the bait I recommend is not this dude. These beat to heck. I just have way more confidence. Now, I've caught them on a lot of different ones now, but one of the first jerk bait I ever bought was actually a Spro. I can't remember the name of it. Mike McClellan? I don't know. But that bait, it only ever caught me a huge carp. Snagged it in the tail. When I first started fishing jerk baits, I think that bait had just come out. I mean, I'd kind of dabbled with them, but I was like, I'm going to try to get into these jerk baits. And I think it was Mike McClellan, or I don't know, something with Spro. Anyway, when those first came out is when I was like, okay, I'm going to try to, work on my jerk bait fishing. Man, I sucked with that bait. I think it was the bait. I was like, I'm doing it. I just broke down and I bought 1 Megabass Vision 110, the one with the square bill. Man, that bait, it just caught fish. I was like, okay, Megabass Vision 110s, that's the thing, isn't it? So I literally, this was probably before the McClellan thing. This was like, what was that? Oh, I can't even remember now. I'm old. I'm getting old. So anyway, I basically just had a couple. I come across whatever these are. The RC sticks also. They're very good ones. So once I found the Vision 110, then I also found that, Rick Clun already knocked off the Vision 110s. Him and what's the case? Lucky Strike. Anyway, these are good. The OG knockoffs of the Vision 110s are also good baits. But in today's time and place, I don't even care to use these. I'll use them sometimes, 110 size. I like the Vision 110 plus 1 Junior. So the Junior and then the plus 1. There's something about that bait. I feel it just gets hit faster, quicker, and than even the Vision 110. whatever I've got over there, the knockoffs like this, then the other knockoffs of a few other ones. Then I've got I got a couple jackals. I got a few higher end ones and then some knockoffs of higher end ones. And all those, although almost any jerkbait could catch a fish at any time, those Vision 110 plus one juniors, they were like, I feel as good as a Vision 110 is over most other jerkbaits. I feel that 110 plus one junior is even that much better than the original Vision 110, in my opinion. But I'm fishing around usually a little smaller fish. So anyway, let's talk about this real quick. I don't know that they needed to go full Evo on the mini maxes, but you've got, I guess, what some would say a little better hook keeper. Yep, they look good. They look legit. Let's open them all up. Let's go for the gold, and then I'm gonna have to end this video and go get me something to eat. Since nobody will buy me. I'm just going to cut this skirt off by trying to get this thing out. I know what you're thinking. I almost cut into that skirting up there. These suckers are hard to get out. So, you guys reading that? What does it say? The original. What in the world is going on with that shade line? That is the hardest thing to get you guys to read. The original Chatterbait. So just like any of the other ones, the other Evos, I didn't really get time to check that out, but they've kind of changed up the head. So I'm curious if these are going to be as good as the mini maxes. I mean, they look cool. They look nice, but we will find out. I mean, I threw 40 bucks at them. What are you guys going to do? I threw $40 at them. See what I think. I've also got more of those Neobies coming. Before I even actually went out and caught fish, I was like, yeah, these are good baits. These are good knockoffs. For $2.50, I ordered one. I've got 2 or 3 of the colors I really like. I ordered one of each color. It's coming in, and then I almost ordered, that was in 3/8. Then I almost ordered one of each color in a half just so I would have, because those are good baits for as cheap as they are. This bait right here was $10. You can get 4 of that one like I just showed you. That I did change out the skirt on it, but technically you don't have to on the most of them I got coming. They're spot removers. They're black and blue. So they'll work just the way they are for $2.50. So you can get 4 of them compared to one of these. And although these are cool and all, and little blade and a little more finessey, I'm telling you, those a 3/8 ounce in the Evo, in the Jackhammer, in a Z-Man Original, in these knockoffs or whatever, you can trim up that skirt, get it as short as those if you want. Put it right at the bottom edge of your hooks of the bigger ones. It's going to have just a little more of a thump to it than these do, but you can be pretty much almost as finessey as you can be with these little mini maxes. It's just, you're like, oh, well, Charlie, they're catching. Well, every time there's a new bait and it's a new trend, that means a lot more people are out using them. And then, yes, they are going to catch fish. You got to catch the fisherman, then you catch the fish. And that's one thing I've said. And I'm not knocking Strike King, but like when you got KVD out there winning and doing all he did, and I'm not saying that the original, their little, 1.5 Sexy Shad squarebill is the greatest one ever made, or isn't the greatest one ever made. But for me, that color and that squarebill don't do anything for me. I feel that I've had several squarebills that are just better. Like the ATV, that's the one I caught them on today too. That ATV, for me, it gets through cover better than a 1.5 Strike King. It does so much other stuff. But that bait, that 1.5 Strike King's probably caught more bass than any ATV possibly will, just for how many have been sold over the time period and whatever. Because a lot of times, as most of you guys know, some days it won't even matter. You just go on out there and you throw any chatterbait, you'll get on fish. Some days it does matter. Some of the stuff matters. Sometimes the color matters or whatever. This one, I'm anxious to see how well these will hold up and the skirts will stay on. Because if you guys remember right, the original, not the original, the original Mini Max, I've had an issue with all of those that once I fish them a little bit with this wire they used loosening up. Haven't had an issue with the big blade or these I just got and the other two Evos I just got. I think I threw the one briefly today for very little bit. So yeah, look at all that right there. I don't even know. How much did I spend on that? It's 40 bucks right there. These are like $5 a piece. Here's my knock on everybody selling these. Now for 10 bucks, I guess. Okay, so you added eyeballs, which technically a chatterbait doesn't need eyeballs, just in case you were wondering. They don't have to have eyeballs. Z-Man Originals, perfect proof. But you take this, so you don't use the weed guard, right? This is something less. You have to have this to make a chatterbait. So then you have to have a blade, right? And then you have to have the snap. So the blade and the snap are added, but you take out this. Now take or leave the eyeballs or whatever. But how can you justify adding those few things for you guys buying the Japanese baits and for the jackhammers and some of those that are up there into that $13.99 or up for a chatterbait? Why? Now, even at 10 bucks, just like, are you literally $5 just for a blade and the snap? I know. Oh, they're hand tied. Well, guess what? That's not that hard of a process, but even if you added $1 for each one, so $1, $2, $3, a $5 jig, because they're everywhere. Awesome paint, awesome skirts, awesome that they're not hand tied. You can get these hand tied, but so I don't know, just justifying how much they are charging for some of these baits is like somebody surely kind of like Hags and well, all of the Chinese. And some people are charging. There's a lot of custom chatterbaits you can buy off eBay also. But yeah, so anyway, I know I'm ranting on about the prices. That's price everything nowadays. Like, come on, McDonald's. The quarter pounder's only gotten smaller and you charge more money for it. Put it back to how it was when you guys first opened up, and it might be worth that nowadays. So anyway, if you have any questions about what I've been ranting on about, drop them below, dirty jigs or these. Stay tuned till I really get out and go fish them. Try to go with Charles tomorrow, but they're calling. I think the weather may have made a little bit of a change. I'll still go if he wants to go. If not, not that big a deal. There's always next weekend and next weekend and next weekend and next weekend and so on and so forth. I would like to thank everybody that joined in conversation today. If you haven't, feel free to drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button for sure if you haven't. Let me read some of these comments. You guys have been commenting since I've been talking. Okay, so Big Mike says cool things that he has some of the great Hackney ones or jigs also, and then no one makes a jig you like. Well, I like the dirty jigs, but I'll be honest. Let me get my thing because I almost ordered a couple more. Hang on, let me get my jig box, and then we'll go into other stuff. I'm going to show you a couple jigs. I didn't order any more, but I really like. So I don't know if you've tried Phoenix. Phoenix comes to mind when you say you're picky about jigs, because on some of the jigs I've been ordering, I'm just going to get a few out here. Actually, let's just bury the dirty jigs. So this is the jig box that you can clearly see. They're stuffed in here. I did not need any more jigs. I'm going to get a few out that so far I like these. Now, this Phoenix one I don't like. I think that's Phoenix, and it's got that narrow head. I mean, it's awesome, but I'm not really a fan of that. It looks like it wants to be a swim jig, but it's supposed to be a flipping or pitch. I mean, I'm sure it works, but so the jigs that kind of caught my eye. So the I really like, because I have caught fish on them. If you haven't tried them, I have no issues so far with the Strike King, the other Strike King, the structure jig. I like those. That's Denny Brower structure jigs. I really like those, and I like them. I got the bigger half ounce, and then when you go to 3/8 in the baby structure jig, they get a little smaller head and the hook, like it's just a whole smaller jig, right? Like a finesse. So I like those. And then out of some of these, I just got to basically get this color. Or I guess look at, if you haven't already, look at Beast Coast. So Beast Coast, some of their either tungsten or some of their jigs don't look bad. Not necessarily that one. I mean, that one looks good, but I think, is it this one? This is a good looking jig too. So this one comes with like the live rubber, like what I've talked about I liked in my mop jig. And you guys probably watched me the unboxing of that one. So I like that Arky style. It looks like it's got a little extra detail went into the hook keeper to keep it in. It's kind of soft, but I don't think it's too soft. I think it'll work for going in and out of cover. It looks like it's going to be a good one. And then this little dude, I can't remember the name of it now. I think is it Phoenix? I can't remember, but that little dude right there is like a little crazy sized mop jig, in my opinion. So I don't think they call it a mop jig. I forget what it's called. But that little dude there, little 1/4 ounce with not a crazy hook, but a stout hook. You know, you're not going to worry about bending that hook out. So this thing put on a pretty buoyant trailer, and it's going to let you, it's a good solid jig that's going to let you kind of like mop across the top of some gunky stuff. So I didn't even get around to it today, but I knew I should. I'm like this, or I threw my mop jig briefly, the 3/8 ounce one, but I couldn't slow down. Like it was so gunky the bottom that I threw a shaky head, but I couldn't slow down with it either with the zinkers on it. I had to just you could throw it out and just keep it moving. And they didn't seem to want any of that, like that jig or soft plastic. But this one, for those options when you just want a very slow fall, because I don't think you can get the mop jig in that little like 1/4 ounce size. But like I mentioned, dirty jigs in Phoenix Custom, the Beast Coast, all look good to me. I just go through there and look at the head size I like and kind of what size hook they got to the size of the weight. You know, are they finessey? Are they, whatever? And I still got to figure out. I got to slap some baits in there. So this color looks good. I mean, I've kind of made this bait in a sense. I've talked about it several times. Get off of there. The Matt's mix up one anyway, because a lot of times you can take any of these jigs that are primarily chartreusey, or the ones that are orangey, and when you put a trailer that's the opposite, that's kind of what this is just already starting at into your skirt material. So then whatever you put with a little hint of orange on it, brown and orange bottom, like that cooter. The color that comes to mind is that new cooter brown color, like you guys heard me talk about. I don't know if it's a new color or not, but it sounds funny. Cooter brown. Some kind of trailer close to that color with an orange belly or a chartreuse belly or whatever will all fit on that jig. And that's kind of why I went with that. I got a couple in that color. It's the first time I've ever owned that color. This is pretty much, they call it, super matte brown, but it's basically a version of a peanut butter and jelly, really. Awesome color. I just got that because I don't know, I've got so many other ones, and then I want to get a couple bluegill, and then I can never have enough black and blue, even though I have a ton of black and blue. And what's funny is I don't throw black and blue jigs. I throw them, but I don't throw those near as much as I do the on when I throw chatterbaits. Chatterbaits, once I get out and get on a good, I feel I throw black and blue probably is my probably the color I go to on any. But here lately, though, the last few years, I've been fishing with like everywhere we fished was a little bit brighter, so black and blue went back a little bit. But a lot of the places I originally fished, black and blue is definitely just the best color. But even when it was, I still like when I jigged fish, kind of like with spinnerbaits. Like spinnerbaits, I never throw a black and blue spinnerbait ever. I had one or I have a couple. I feel they suck. A black and blue spinnerbait is one of the last things. A bluegill spinnerbait, a white chartreuse, game on. Those also work in chatterbaits, but I hardly ever. I have a couple somewhere, white jigs, but I feel the white jigs are I've only in like a swim jig, but like as just a anything bottom bouncing. I feel those are like the least favorite in there. So I don't know what they call these. These are the lure holics, but they're not the. I don't think these are the ones you were actually talking about. You were talking about a regular jig, not a swim jig. But these swim jigs are knockoffs you can get on AliExpress for $250, and these things are legit. Got a good bait keeper and all that kind of stuff. Awesome little baits. Got slightly different hook size. If you get the half, I think that's half, or that 3/8. I think it's half, maybe only 3/8. But the quarter-ounce ones are a little bit, probably the same length skirts, but of course smaller head to make it quarter-ounce. But it does have a slightly smaller, everything. It's a little shorter hook shank and a little shorter all the way around, just a hair thinner. Still a stout, but these are made legit. I haven't really got out to really fish them that good yet. Just got them this year, but anyway. Hopefully you guys like that. Just over an hour. Oh man, the hits keep coming. All you guys keep commenting. Did we here all night? Yeah, Eddie. Eddie's saying that jerkbait will turn on almost any lethargic fish any time of the year and turn them on for other baits too. Yeah, if you can get around fish and get them going on some bait, a lot of times that works. That's almost the case with any when you get out there. Like sometimes you just get them kind of fired up with one bait, and then they'll end up hitting something that you throw, a little later on that they may not even have hit in the first place. Oh, you must put this beside a regular mini max? Hang on, I gotta find one. Let me try to get one that doesn't have any me dabbling with it. I think these they look like they come with maybe shorter skirts, if I'm guessing right. All right, so let's get to chatterbaits. Here it is, right here on top. So here is the original. That's funny when they say original. Like the original chatterbait's been around so long now. When you hear anybody say the original whatever to a chatterbait, it's like, well, no, it's not. So the original Mini Max, and then here that's their bluegill. This is a bluegill, and then this is the Mini Max Elite bluegill. So definitely more detail. These are $6.99 or $7.99 up at Rogers. They have them the cheapest I've seen. Rogers Sporting Goods. I think $7.99. So $2 cheaper. And of course, right, it shows not as much detail goes into it, but you don't even need this much detail. You could have just made this, which they do, and they don't make quite the color choices and all that, but you could have just get that dude, which is a mini. They've been making this thing forever with a big hook. It's not, the detail hasn't gone in. So I'll try to compare these two, and then with the just original mini, because these are like are these $3.79? These are cheap, and you can catch fish on them. Are they as cool? And maybe do they work quite as good? If the fish get a little finicky, who knows? But the blade is going to be the exact same size. They just on this new bluegill color they picked out. This is more of a copper color, and then with that, I don't even know how many different colors or what colors you can see. I can see a bunch. kind of a bluish and a purple, and it's kind of that color change, like you turn it and it looks like it just kind of changes. Right, to throw them off just with your old, gold blade. So the bellies, I honestly prefer a little. I prefer, and it may just be all in my head. It may not matter. Orange belly over a yellow belly. That's just how I am. And on my frogs, I like white bellies. So the hook, let's compare that. So the head, you guys can clearly see, and I still have not figured out if that is actually meant to help hold the bait down, and if it is, does it actually even do anything? They just give it that little bit of a neck there to it. So one more time, I'll hold them up like this. They look to be the same, what I call the length of the body. So you see how the blade is kept on. The snap, I would say, is a little bit different snap, I think. I think they've updated, changed their snaps. We'll look at that in a second. But definitely a different shaped head for sure. It's got that Evo style head with the big eyes. This doesn't even have any eyes. Doesn't need them. This is a little fish catching machine. So you can see, even though this is hand tied and this one is, just how the different, that thing just flares out. Like that's how it came out of the package, and this one still flared out, but not like this. And if I'm looking at it, it's a little bit longer. See how they've got it? You can just simply trim this up. This is a little more, just a brighter presentation, in my opinion. It's going to do two different things. This is going to come out there and fish. I mean, they're going to fish the same, but this has a lot more orange. Neither one of these, this has some kind of purple right here. Neither one of these really have any blue on them. That's more like what I'd call green. Green, focus. Green and orange with some purple fleck. That's typically what the Z-Mans go. They don't add a lot of blue until you get into the big blade. So let's compare it just to the colors, since I've got one right here. So if you see the new big blade, that's their bluegill. That's not the big blade. That's a custom. Oh my God. Where's the big blade? So that's another Z-Man color though that's totally different. Here's a big blade. So yeah, that's the Z-Man custom bluegill, and then there's the big blade bluegill. So you see how Z-Man has a little bit different. Now these are very close. These are about the same, which is the same as the Dirty Jigs. Where'd it go? The original bluegill. What did I do with that bait? Is that it? That's not it. All right, who stole the Dirty Jigs? Bluegill bait. What did I do? Did I knock it down on the ground? I don't know. I'm looking right at it. It's right here. So I like that better than I do this, except for I like the fact they add the blue. That's why I kind of like that Bluegill 2 from Dirty Jigs. Whoa, I added another jig. That Bluegill 2 is just my favorite. And today, I mean, it was working today, but any of these bluegill, baits probably would have worked. Now, I threw a Mini-Max briefly, this color with my favorite trailer color, that green pumpkin, purple and gold flake, just briefly, like a couple casts, and just to see if it had any magic in it, and it didn't. So, let me put these up. I don't know. I'm curious. This looks cooler, looks better, but is it going to be any more, productive than just a regular Mini Max? Or for that matter, just here's a beat up one. Look at that thing. I've already beat that sucker down. Honestly, I think they're better at catching fish once they start getting that fade more to them than when you pull them out of the package new. They just get better. The color, you need a color to start with, but as that color fades, it gets what I call a more natural look to it. No matter what color it is, as it fades in, it just gets a more natural look to it. Or you can just buy a knockoff by the Bluegill Color Dirty Jigs or whatever your favorite is. Because even though this is a little bit bigger bait, you can even trim that just to where that material is right at the edge of that hook, roughly. But it's not that much bigger. In a 3/8 or a quarter. Now, if you get these in a 3/8 or these, I think come in a half, then they're going to be down deeper, and they do have a more subtle vibrating with the smaller blade. But you could also, let's compare the new. This is the top of the line Mini Max Evo, and this is the old school. They've been making the minis for I don't know how long now. For several years, the mini and the micros they've been making, but they also make. Now, see, it's got the hook way back there further. Now, some of you may realize that sometimes could be a good thing because it gets it further away from the blade, maybe a possibility of hookups kind of thing. But they also make a 1/4 ounce because these are all 1/4 ounce. So the Mini Maxes come in 3 sizes. The original Mini, it's just a 1/4 ounce. That's what makes it a Mini. The Micro is an 1/8 ounce, makes it that size. They also make these, and where did I put it? Oh boy, I thought I stuck it with the regular ones. Didn't I? Oh no, I probably put it in the day box. But they also, their 1/4 ounce Z-Man Originals actually come with the big blade. Not the big blade. Hang on. Let me find it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. In case you missed the video, I've already talked about it. So let's get a couple more baits out while we're. Oh my god. What did I do with that bait? I got one somewhere. Hang on. Hang on. I don't know what I did with it. Okay, anyway, I don't know what I did with it. But since I already got this one in my hand, we'll look at it comparing them. So yeah, this is the one. Just so we can compare if you want a size difference on the Evos. So the Evo came out almost 2 years ago now, maybe last year. I don't know. I think almost 2 years. These just came out. So there is a definite, size difference. But you can, if you see how far, because these come with this, that far back. You can take a 3/8 ounce and, leave the skirt completely alone, add a bigger trailer, and have a big presence. But you can also take, I could take this big blade and I can shorten these, and I don't want to just leave them flat, but I can bring it back some and then, shorten it by quite a bit, and I can make this into a smaller, shorten those up almost to the edge of the blade, and then add just, about 1.5 inch trailer sticking off and keep that small. Or I can take that, since I got this huge gaff hook, and I can put about as big a soft plastic as I feel comfortable on it to where I can still get a good hook set if something were to eat it, and have a huge bait. So you can always cheat, just like, you can do the same thing kind of with jigs, whether you get a big, huge mop jig or you actually cut down the skirting to make it whatever. And some of these, as they just wear out, they sort of get that look to them anyway. Because this Bee Height Delight 1/2 ounce kind of started out, a lot more full and whatever. And it almost looks like a smaller bait now compared to, like here's a brand new knockoff. Even though this is a 3/8 and this is a 1/2, it's got a smaller head by just a hair. The head's a little smaller, but the profile look of the bait, just because it's got a more full skirt, it just looks like it's more there. The skirting's just, just a 1/8 or so of an inch longer. But you can cheat a bait up or down on its size just by the skirt and the trailer. So keep that in mind while you're out there fishing. Now, yeah, you can't get to that, small little compact deal. You can get that smaller if you want it, or if you leave it like right there, put on an actual trailer. You want to stay slimline, but put one that sticks out about an inch, inch and a half past the skirting material. That's going to look like a bigger meal than if you take, where did I do it with my old one? Like this dude that's so beat up already. Now I still have some of those strands a little long, but I could put just that littler trailer that basically just tickles around where the skirt is too, and it stays. And this is a 1/4 ounce, and this is I believe 3/8. So you can play with the weight to the ratio and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, break out the Fireball. Let's talk Zinkers. I'm out of Fireball. I had those 2 things of Fireball last night, and I used them both up, and they're gone. The Buckeye Mop Jig. If you go back and watch some of my old videos, if you haven't watched the Buckeye Mop Jig. Now, this isn't a mop jig. This one is something different. This is I can't remember the name of this jig. I'll try to share it either in the comments later on or in another video. I'll let you guys know the name of all those baits I showed you that I like, because I'll probably order some more of this little guy in particular. The thought of that one, because I can just, like I mentioned, go across the lightest stuff. But the jig I recommend that I definitely have already caught some fish on this year is the Buckeye Mop Jig. Now, it come with rattles. I took the rattles out of the one I had. But that jig just, my cousin Matt torn them up with it, and this looks so close to it. I might add a couple lighter brown deals to it. I'm going to probably try it first by itself. I might add a little bit of color to it. But awesome baits. Yeah, Lureholic on AliExpress has all kinds of stuff. They're built good. Like anything and see, that's the thing. Like when you first, until you've started to order stuff off AliExpress, and like I have now for 5+ years, maybe longer. There's junk coming from China. There's also some very good in China name brand products out there at those stores that you're going to go to, and you're going to, go to AliExpress and you're going to search, chatterbaits. There's going to be a lot of different things popping up. You're going to see some with no name, some that say Jackie Hammer, not Jackie Chan, not Jackhammers, but Jackie Hammer. Hammer is spelled way different. Hammer with the AR, I think, or something. And then the Neoby, Neoby, I think. It may be I don't know. I don't know how they spell it. I'd say it Neoby. Those are the ones I recommend if you're getting a knockoff chatterbait. Now, just because there's a little more attention to detail as opposed to those Jackie Hammer or the no-name chatterbaits. They work. So let me show you. This is no, that's not a new one. I've already fished this one. But the no-names and the Jackie Hammers kind of come like this. I mean, they're awesome looking, working, everything's fine, but they've got the hook keeper. The bait keeper is just a single thing, and it's kind of a bigger one. I mean, it works fine. I honestly maybe prefer it, but you can tell it's a cheaper kind of concept than if you get the true Neoby ones are just like the Jackhammer. I don't have one right here where I can show you. They have the dual, So lastly, let me compare this, and I'll jump back to that. So the Mini Maxes, for those of you guys who are curious too, the Mini Max I kind of like these hook keeper or bait keepers better than I think I do. The new one has just a single, sort of like what the Jackhammers do. But yeah, did you guys see that they've got the new Jackhammers coming out are basically a copy of the Mini Max, of the Evo Mini Max, and they're oh, there's a weird name for them, but the jackhammers are coming out with their version of these little bitty baits. If you haven't seen that, they're not available on Tacklewarehouse, but they show up now and they're new, and then you can't like order them yet. They're not there yet, but they're going to do all the same stuff. What do you order, Brew Tank? Yeah, this just comes and goes. The camera is mounted exactly where it is all the time. It's just sometimes it's a better quality due to the, and they came in and put Google Fiber. Like they dug up the yard and went all over different ways in the neighborhood anyway. So I don't know if we're gonna get that or what's going on, but I'm hoping I get something good enough to where like it just increases the quality of me doing live streams. So Game and Money TV ordered a few of the swim jigs, the lure holics. What are you ordering, Brew Tank? He's ordering something. Game and Money call me. I'm the king of what? CBs. Yeah, lure holics quality. Yeah, the Jackie Hamas are they're good, but yeah, they're I think they're limited on their colors. They just haven't put any extra effort like they're originally how they came out when they knocked them off. The Niobis, uh, I got one somewhere. Oh, it's on the freaking deal. But they've just like what they're doing now with these Evos and with the jackhammers and the Niobis, even they give you so just at a glance. Now you can kind of tell once you're used to these. You know, I can grab one and I can tell you that the second I grab it. Now sometimes I have to compare it. That's the thing. But I can grab one and look at the head size and tell you that yeah, that's a half ounce. You know what I mean? But sometimes you got to look at it and then look at another one. And, oh yeah, that's that's a half. That's 3/8 or whatever. But these are the Jackie Hammers and they're fine. But yeah, these are the ones when I was first getting them. You'd have to watch how they bend that in. Some of them wouldn't go ahead and they just weren't all the way in like they were supposed to be. So and then you can also kind of tell how how this is. The smaller ones, that's more of like a bent up deal. But anyway, the Jackie Hammers, they're definitely good. And those, there for a while, you were getting them for like $2 a piece. And they still pop on sale here and there. But in my opinion, if I'm going to, I'll just go ahead. And that's why I've got like one of every color of 3/8 coming. The Niobe ones. And then I still have not found any real great, swim, casting, or just flipping and pitching, like a Arky style jig that I like from AliExpress. Like I'll spend instead of spending $2 for some funky ones, and then I'm gonna have to put a dollar skirt and still three. For a lot of these are $4.99. The jigs that are under $5 and they just come good. I'm like, I'll just get that. Just like if when these you can get these on sale and they're $6, 6.50. I'll get a few here and there, kind of thing. But I've not found other than these little dudes. These things, man, are just very nice. And they've got quite a few colors. I mean, they definitely could have a few different options. It's just so funny how they look so far different than a true. There's just so much detail into making it look like a fish head, I guess. Instead of, it's just not any kind of a jig. Like this one definitely speaks. That's a swim jig. You're going to want to put some sort of swim bait on the back. And I'm going to try to work with what swim bait I find or whatever I put on the back that lets them create that movement, because I don't like the idea of shaking my rod, different stuff. And I don't like the idea, honestly, I don't like the idea when I cast them out and I just reel it back and I can't feel anything. I just don't like that. And that's kind of what happens with almost every swim when you're just swimming the jig back to you kind of deal. I like when I've got the chance, even on a swim jig, if I can swim a little bit and let it hit bottom and then pull it or pop it or whatever, and then kind of keep swimming. So, like today, when you're in gunk and you just need a bait that you can't really stop because it's going to get gunked up, I like that either spinnerbait that's got enough of a vibration feel I can feel it or I just like a chatterbait. I can just go slow as I need to go. I can still feel the blade spinning. And then if I start getting gunked, and then I know I need to, okay, next cast I got to go just a little bit faster. You can kind of fine tune, get to where you need to be. But yeah, these little lure holic things I think are going to be very good. The other ones that I found that are swim baits, that are swim jigs that I'm still not 100% sure of are these guys. They're the Mega Bass knockoffs. I just don't know. I don't really care for the colors. I bought some bright colors. I bought these that I tried to change the colors and I tied those together. I didn't even get that out, but a little experimenting. I don't like those as well as I do some other stuff. Especially like the stuff coming from AliExpress, the SV3 knockoffs, the any of the Chatterbait knockoffs so far. Now I do have more of the other Chatterbait knockoff. It's not a knockoff. I don't know if you guys have seen them. I've got the Chatterbaits coming that are basically sort of like a Freedom. So they got the hook you can actually is on a split ring on the back, and it's like EWG style. And I'll probably switch those out, find a hook size I like, and then a thing. So I'm trying to come up with baits so I don't have that bait snag and I have to rip it off of trees or whatever. Instead of having to buy, the cross eyes or the ones you guys keep telling me about, the Japanese one or whatever. So if I can get those, they're like $1.50. Like these are cheap. Cheap chatterbaits coming, but they got that style. So I'm going to try to get that working for me now that I feel I'm a little more into the tuning of getting different skirts, finding out which trailers will let that bait do something. It's definitely the kind you'll see them when they come in. I've bought them before. They were the first, I think, bladed jig chatterbait style knockoffs I bought from AliExpress. And I got them and I fished them. They're in a video in Bass and Bonsai. I fished them a couple times and went, nope, these suck. And I didn't fish them anymore. I weeded them out. Charles may have ended up with them for, in those dollar bait buys. And they were $1.50, $2 back then. So I am going to slowly weed out. And I've already started. I've already got in my mind what baits I'm weeding out. If you remember right, I pulled everything in, even these chatterbaits that aren't really true chatterbaits. These are bladed jigs, right? Because the blade doesn't bounce off the head. So I'm going to start weeding this stuff out. I've already got enough. I got so many crazy variations of Z-Man, and I am keeping I don't even know where I put them yet, but the Mega Custom Tackles, I'm keeping those in the lineup. But most of the other ones, even the Slobber Knocker knockoffs and some other things, I'm going to slowly start weeding that stuff out of my tackle box. I'm going to start going through my jigs and start weeding some of that stuff out of my tackle box. Now, I may take some of these littler jigs and throw them with my BFS stuff in a sense, but like when I'm regular fishing, I find myself, I never, hardly ever, usually ever, get down to throwing those little bitsy bugs. I just don't. Like if I set out to go BFS fishing occasionally, so it'd be like if I'm power BFS fishing kind of thing, right? To where I go to these smaller sizes. Because on 10 pound, and that's typically what I BFS fish with. I know you guys like 7 pound, 6 pound, 5 pound. Dude, 10 pound. I can see the braid better. And 10 pound leader. Now, I've carried 6 too. So if I got to go down to 6, I will leader on my 10 pound braid. But that kind of thing. I'm going to try to start splitting off my, I guess, what I'm using into if I'm going finesse BFS fishing or if I'm just out fishing to catch bass. I will utilize some of the stuff. I've got these couple combos with 10 pound line that's basically capable of BFS, and I'll throw some of the lighter stuff, but not necessarily smaller and to that effect. So I'm going to slowly start weeding some of those out. I mean, I'll probably keep a couple, but right now, after picking up some of these other baits, I have so many of these little finesse 16th ounce, so many of these other there's no way I could get on try to go track down a little bite, get that finessey on any given day when I'm out just fishing for regular bass fishing, is what I'm saying. So, I don't know. And same thing with my regular baits. From chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, the ones I've tried probably going to be weeded right back out. I'm gonna stick with, so far, SV3s are the half ounce, the SV3 knockoffs. They're a half ounce. I want to say they're 3/8, and then there's even some I think are 1/4 on the Z-Mans. And I could go with just the Z-Mans if I needed to. Those things are awesome, or the SV3 knockoffs. But between those two on my spinnerbaits, unless I come across something that seems way out there that is awesome, and then like on the jigs, I'm not going to really set with any brand, but just that style of, when they're not hitting this or that, I'll start with these 3/8 and 1/2 ounce jigs, mainly kind of a combo. Swimming along the bottom is kind of the way I've always liked to fish a jig. I don't really like to swim a jig. I don't really like to just do a true heavy, stuck on bottom and pitching into. I mean, I'll pitch it and flip it into spots as I'm going down the bank, but I don't really. And you may get into a little bit of like more dense grass fishing jigs this year since I've got a couple rods that are way stouter than what I used to fish with. And do that, and then I definitely need to go through my jerk baits. Just like I told you, the Vision 110 plus 1 Junior, that's the main one I throw, and it usually works. Usually, if it doesn't catch any fish, none of those other baits catch fish, jerk baits. Now, if those catch fish, I use the other ones. And I mean, I've caught fish on almost every jerk bait that's in there, but it's kind of one of those you go to this one, and if it doesn't catch them, none of those other baits in there are catching them. So I'm definitely going to weed out about half of the jerkbait box because there's just too many. I don't jerkbait fish enough either to justify having that many jerkbaits. Maybe the squarebills. The squarebills, I'm definitely going to stick to that ATV. I did catch some fish on it again, the crawdad colored one. So the 1.0 ATVs for sure. I think I'm going to invest and go ahead and get probably. Maybe not one of every color, but a few more of those. I really don't have any backups of the colors I do have that I like. So I'll probably invest in a little bit of that. The rattle traps are loaded. They're overloaded. I'm probably going to start weeding those out. If there's some of those, I'm going to probably get to where I just have my Booyah hard knockers, and then maybe the Booyah hard knockers, they'll be 500s, and then the Quake 60s and 70s, the 6 cents ones. Those are definitely legit. I like all those three. That's all I need. They're not really expensive either. The 6 cents ones, those are probably the best now, bang for your buck, and they're available. Booyah hard knockers are just too hard to get in the color I like. The Toledo Gold 3/4 ounce is so hard to find in the hard knocker. You can get it in a one knocker easier, but yeah. So I'm gonna probably slowly weed away from it. Anyway, all right, guys. Wow, hour and a half. Now, what are you telling me? You said, yeah, Nobi's the best. Games and money. You're asking me. Lureholic is quality. King of CBs. You mean? Are you saying crankbaits? Chatterbaits. Yeah, the King of Chatterbaits. Bones. I try to go live while you're fishing tomorrow. I'm gonna be stuck in the house. Well, if I get out, I may try at one point. Well, here's the thing. The slobber knockers, let's talk about that since you asked. I don't think, like, I see a time. I didn't even get one out and try it today because I finally, I was like, that water's got to be warm. It's cold water, but it's got to be warm enough. But I don't think I need these either. I don't think I need them in my box because the one time I felt they may had an edge on any of these other chatterbaits was in that crazy cold water. I managed to catch one bass, but only one. Like I didn't go on a bite with it, but one bass did hit this one of these colors, slobber knockers. But it's just a muted feel. And I'll put it to you this way. I'm not buying any more slobber. I may go ahead and keep these in my box. I still haven't decided yet and try them. I need to, if I go tomorrow, I need to get one of these rigged up and just try it to see in the color that's close to the, probably this dude. Not this dude. Oh my God. That's one of the problems. You can have too many baits that create problems. I probably need to rig this dude up and do a little shootout especially once they do start kind of hitting on chatterbait somewhat. I need to put this one up against my the bigger one, but wherever I have him. Oh, he's down there in a day box. But this slobber knocker versus the 3/8 ounce in this color Evo, and just see what I think, because it's just a muted, and you can kind of see where the head started to get beat up. I've fished those two colors enough that I feel I should have caught more fish anyway, in my opinion, other than real cold water having an advantage over a chatterbait. I don't, so anyway, I'm not buying any more. Something would definitely have to change. I'd have to go out and just get on a tear with them when a regular chatterbait wasn't working before I would recommend anything slobber knocker. And that's probably why, if you go look, the slobber knockers, I think they're starting to clear them out. Just one of those baits. A lot of those chatterbaits come in and then fade away. And I was going to mention this. Some of you might be like, why you got so many bluegill chatterbaits? Well, I don't know, and I still have no clue what a bass thinks a chatterbait is, because what I remembered, a lot of you guys may not even know about or have remembered, and I'm going to look at these real quick. They've changed look how it's basically the snap goes over this way and snaps, and then comes over the other way. You see how they've kind of changed up these snaps? I don't know when they did that, which is kind of cool. So I like that. But back in the day, because what brought it to my attention was, I was like, oh, that thing kind of looks like a frog's head. Doesn't it? That thing looks more like a frog from the top down than a, leopard frog or whatever, bullfrog, than a actual bluegill. Well, let's focus. But back in the day, the chatterbait came out, and I forget the exact name they used, but they were trying to imitate frogs. They're definitely, the head was shaped different, and it had like a frog head, and I think it came with these little kicker feet that looked kind of like frog legs. And I actually liked those. Those chatterbaits were pretty good. Like I bought a few different ones, just kind of like I do with the other stuff. And up until wasn't that many years ago, I had a couple of those still around. Those were, I thought they were a good little deal. And I mean, were they thinking that was a frog? I don't know. It definitely, the profile and the colors, it looked like a frog, So do they think it's like some goofy frog that's doing something? Who knows what they truly think a chatterbait is? Oh yeah, in my review, it does not thump hard. The slobber knocker, and I feel you got to go faster to get it to even have a like you've heard. I'm sure you guys, if you watch Tactical Bass and you hear Matt Allen talk about the startup, like it starts right up. I feel not only does these not like start doing anything, and it could be the fact that they are a knockoff and not a true slobber knocker. But I feel it's got to come at a little faster pace before it's even got the so you've heard me talk about, I feel I can just creep a chatterbait, especially these size to head size to the blade size ratios, right? And it just is like they have to be fished a little, they just fall down faster, if that makes sense, to like that size compared to a traditional, because I believe these are half ounce, so they're going to thump way lighter sounding feeling than a traditional half ounce, but they're also going to have to be reeled. They won't be able to be reeled at as slow as a pace. Now, I never did really try burn. I'm not a burner guy, though. I don't like burn baits back. But yeah, the more I think about it, why do I keep them in there? Because I have caught a fish or two on them, and I mean, the colors look good. They look like a good bait, and they will catch fish. But they just don't have that magic like what a chatterbait does. Now, am I missing something? Before I just throw them out, I need to get out and fish with them more. But yeah, thumping, they thump literally not as much as a little mini max does, and a mini max is way more muted over the regular chatterbaits. But that those little Niobe ones with the 3/8 Niobe, man, those things, like, I had this Elite. Like, you'll see the tip, on a lot of rods. Like, no matter if you're throwing a chatterbait, you'll see the tip of the rod. I mean to tell you, this blank, I could watch it going with this Elite TI and these, this chatterbait, but any of the regular bladed, I haven't thrown the big blade on that. It's probably a little overkill for this Elite TI 610 medium heavy. It'll do it, but just in what it was generating back to me, I'm like, my gosh, that is like a bunch of feedback come back. Like, it's almost to the point where I guess if I fish long enough with that one, I may not just throw chatterbaits on it just because it's giving me too much, back on the chatterbait. But it does let you, like, you can get into that slowed down and you can just kind of get to the very slowest possible speed and it's still pulling. Then you can, give it a quick whip or jerk the rod and then it goes back to it's just kind of hovering along, coming along. And then last thing I'm gonna talk about, then I'm gonna get out of here. Our little test bait did work. I don't know, I gotta find a time and a place for it, but where did I put that thing? Don't tell me I already lost it. I may have already lost that bait. I kind of just threw this stuff back in when I was leaving. I may have to dig it back out. Okay, I can't find it. Anyway, if you guys remember, I got that little bitty spinnerbait that I put the chatterbait blade on. That thing actually doesn't work bad. It's I'm gonna keep using it, but it's kind of got a certain speed you got to get to, but it kind of gives it a little. It's not really a chatterbait feel, but it's like a little more than that little, because those little bitty spinnerbaits. I've got a spinnerbait here, but I don't have the one I put the blade on. If you guys know what I'm talking about, are they Pond Magics or whatever from Berkeley? Are those the ones? This little dude, one's all rusted and beat up. But those little bitty spinnerbaits, I put that little chatterbait blade on that one bluegilly colored one, and it definitely. I'm gonna leave it on there and try it. Keep trying it. It didn't get a hit or nothing. I didn't even have a trailer on. I just was throwing it out. Testing it, what it felt like, and I'm like, that thing actually doesn't feel bad. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I got to get out of here. I got to get ready for fishing tomorrow. This is a long video. I will talk to you guys later. Get out, go bass and bonsai, but whatever you do, have fun doing it.